Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And I have Pamela Seelig here today, and her book is called Threads of Yoga. It's a guide for students and teachers inspired by the Yoga Sutras. And let me tell you, she's got a really inspiring story. You know, in the late 1980s, Pamela was a self-described yuppie. She said, working for a demanding and unsustainable job on Wall Street. And she put her unrealistic demands on herself and had no appreciation for her balance in life. So her sudden affliction with Bell's palsy made her slow down and rethink her lifestyle, you guys, beginning with meditation. And she's here today to tell her story. And to share her new book, which is coming out on September 28th. So we're going to get a sneak preview here. But before I bring her on, because I always talk about what's happening in humanity, and I just want to say something. I've been doing nice news with Nancy because I don't like the controversy that goes on in the world, and I'm trying to bring more good vibrations. But I will talk about what happened yesterday because I believe I need to use my voice, just like I believe all of you need to use your voice. And so the headline, and this comes from CBS News, Biden announces COVID vaccine mandates that will affect 100 million Americans. So it says, President Biden announced the most sweeping COVID-19 vaccine requirements yet on Thursday, which will affect roughly 100 million Americans. The new measures include a vaccine mandate for all federal workers and contractors, and a requirement that large companies must mandate vaccines or regular testing for employees. My job as president is to protect all Americans, Mr. Biden said Thursday. So tonight, I'm announcing that the Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees that together employ over 80 million workers to ensure their workforces are fully vaccinated or show a negative test at least once a week. Mr. Biden noted that many large companies already require vaccination. The bottom line is we're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated workers. Wow. So there's such a divide here. And it's really feeling, I'll just say this, discriminatory against certain people. And this is really getting to be scary. Now, I will say this, a couple more headlines, and then I'll bring our guest on. No major religious denomination opposes vaccination, but religious exemptions may still complicate mandates. So in Northern California, the pastor of a megachurch hands out religious exemption forms to the faithful. New Mexico state senator will help you articulate a religious exemption by pointing to the decades-old use of aborted fetal cells in the development of some vaccines. So to me, that's positive. And then I pulled this up. It came through my email this morning. Citizens petition. This is from New Mexico. This is where I am to investigate Governor Lujan Grisham. That's our governor over COVID policies gathering momentum in 14 New Mexico counties. This is September 10th. The Republican Party of New Mexico is pleased to learn that another citizen petition has been filed in judicial court to address the governor overstepping her authority in her COVID decrees. So all I want to say is this is the time, guys, where you use your voice. And if you don't agree with something, you stand up and say something, because we're all individual souls and we all have the ability to think for ourselves and use our intuition. And so I'm just encouraging everyone to use your gut feeling on this one. Okay. Having said that, let me tell you a little bit about Pamela. She has this cool book called Threads of Yoga, and she's a yoga teacher. She's the author of Threads of Yoga, Themes, Reflection, and Meditations to Weave into Your Practice. She began her yoga and meditation journey in 1991 when, as we said before, an illness interrupted her Wall Street career. Along with helping recovery, the impact of her meditation led to lifelong pursuit of perceiving and sharing yoga wisdom through practice, teaching, and writing. She's completed her teaching training in 2006 at an Integral Yoga Institute in New York. And Pamela considers Swami, I hope I don't botch this, Satya Dada, I don't know, the founder of Integral as her primary teacher. So that's her guru, she says. And she comes to us from New Jersey, and she practices yoga. She teaches yoga. She does workshops. She writes. She is an empty nester with her husband, Bob, and her dog looks like Bodhi. Welcome to High Road to Humanity there, Pamela. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me, Nancy.
Yeah. So the state of humanity is kind of crazy right now. And this is the time we need yoga. What do you think?
I do. I think it's always the time for yoga. I think that you're right. Things are definitely chaotic feeling in the outer world, but yoga is sort of the practice of focusing on your own inner world and trying to maintain that still space within. And I think now we all really need it, especially now.
Yeah, tell us your story. You were working on Wall Street. I mean, tell us your story.
Sure.
What happened to you?
Yeah, well, this was a while ago. So back in the 80s, I was working in the financial district on Wall Street, and I was just going. I really did not have any sort of notion of balance in my life, working nonstop, and just, not really thinking there was any other way, just thinking that was the way to success, and with very much tunnel vision. And it started to take a toll on my body. I had a couple of issues, and eventually I woke up one morning and I had Bell's palsy, which I had never heard of, but it's when basically half of your face becomes paralyzed. So it's very dramatic.
Right.
I thought it was a stroke. I went to the emergency room and they told me actually it was fairly common, or not uncommon, and which was a relief, but they said it would take months to recover, and some people never recover.
Oh my gosh.
And I know, so really stopped me in my tracks.
Sure.
And there was nothing to do. Like, there was no medicine, there was no therapy. So I had no sense of control whatsoever. So I decided to start visiting doctors and see if there was any, new innovative treatment, but every doctor just said, no, you just have to wait, which I was not good at. So
yeah, patience. That's one of my lessons too in this lifetime.
But one doctor said, have you tried alternative medicine or meditation? So at that time, I thought that was kind of wacko. I didn't know what he meant, but I had nothing else. So I tried to meditate. I couldn't really read, or this was pre-internet. So I just read a couple of books about meditation. I had one eye taped closed, so I couldn't read a lot. But so I just skimmed and started meditating. And I didn't know at that time that you really should start slowly. Yeah. It was kind of my type A personality, especially at that time.
Yeah, you got to do it. You're going to go all the way with it. I read that in your book. I cracked up. You're like, okay, I'm going to meditate, man.
Right. And they told me at work, they said, don't come in, just take some time off, please, because it made people uncomfortable. So
oh gosh, seriously?
Yeah. So,
okay.
So I kind of was meditating, maybe not in a healthy way, more as an escape, but I did love it. And I had some unusual experiences, which I didn't understand at the time. Now I do, but, feeling a presence, seeing things. At that time, I had I was completely in the physical world. I had no real spiritual practice. I had gone to Catholic school my whole life, or most of my life. But anyway, so this was.
They don't teach spirituality at the Catholic school.
Well, it was just really, so I went and visited, more alternative people, and they told me, study yoga. You'll find out what's happening by studying yoga. And I thought, yoga? I didn't even know that was part of meditation. I didn't realize, whereas meditation is really a central aspect of yoga. So that's really what got me on the journey. And I would have never turned in this direction if it hadn't been something dramatic. It took about 3 or 4 months for the Bell's palsy to recover. I have a little weakness in my face, but I'm very grateful for
No,
the
so say you can
lessons.
hardly tell. Really, actually, I could never, if you wouldn't have told me, I wouldn't have known, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
there. I feel it, but again,
Mhm.
to me, it was almost like an initiation, and it turned me. I stayed in the financial district or in the financial industry for a few more years, but eventually turned and really, you know, dedicated myself to other pursuits. Eventually, opening a yoga studio, um, and really trying to understand more about this kind of inner world.
Mhm. You grew as a person. Now, I know this may sound like a weird question, but do you look at this now as a blessing because it was your wake-up call?
I do. I do. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It's again, it's very dramatic, but um, I think a lot of people have things like this. The situations come up, they sort of get clobbered, and when you look back, not when you're in it, but when you look back, you think, "Wow, that really helped me
Mhm.
get a different perspective, and it helped the rest of my life." But again, nobody really wants to hear that when you're in it.
Well, yeah, and it's really difficult, and I hate to hear how, and the people are cruel when it comes to stuff like that. Like, they don't know how to handle people if you're not perfect, people just, and it's crazy. It just goes to show why this work you're doing and have done is so important, because it's the inside of us that is the essence and the treasure, not the outside of us. And we just haven't gotten there yet. We're almost there. I think we're working on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I do. I think that I
Yeah.
know things are bad. There's a lot of chaos, but I do
Mhm.
think as a collective, we are becoming more compassionate, more
Mhm.
sensitive. Uh, I do feel that gives me hope.
Right.
And what yoga does, though, I think it kind of gives this roadmap of, okay, how do you go within? Like, how do you do this?
Right.
And why?
Yeah, we'll
Why do
talk
this?
about that more when we come
Okay.
back from commercial break. Hey, her book is called Threads of Yoga: Themes, Reflections, and Meditations to Weave into Your Practice. We're going to get into the book, and it's Pamela. Her last name is Seelig, Seelig, correct? Am I
Yes, that's
pronouncing
right.
that properly? All right. This is Nancy here out. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Pamela Seelig. Her book is called Threads of Yoga. She's talking to us about yoga and how it can balance us. Now, I was asking her, the Yoga Sutras, which she talks about in this book, were written 300 to 800 BCE. And they were written by a gentleman, is it
Patanjali.
Patanjali, okay, known as the father of yoga. Talk to us about this.
Yeah. So when I discovered this text, if you do ever do like a yoga teacher training, this is a text that's typically studied because it's very foundational to yoga.
Oh,
It,
okay.
it was written by an Indian sage from India named Patanjali, and 3,500 years ago he wrote it down. However, even then this was an ancient practice, so it really goes back much farther than that. But what he did was he wrote 196 little statements, not even sentences, that
Mhm.
tell us what yoga is, why we do it, how you do it, obstacles you'll hit, and then the ultimate stages of yoga, like self-realization.
Mhm.
So when I discovered or saw this and read this for the first time, I thought, wow, this is like a handbook to being human. Like, why have I never heard of this before? Because it
Mhm.
really does kind of very simply, you can't really misinterpret what he says, tells you what yoga is. And the first three sutras are the ones that I focus on in my book
Oh,
because I
tell
think
us.
they're
Tell
okay.
us the first thing.
The first one doesn't really count. It's now we begin the exposition of yoga. So now is a good time. So I love that. The second is yoga is the quieting of the mind.
Yeah.
So we know what it is. The third one, I just think is so beautiful. The third one is, and then the seer abides in her true nature.
I read that. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah. So it's basically, okay, quiet the mind, but why? And it's then the seer or you abide in your true nature. This is what we're trying to get to. Abiding in our true nature, finding our true self, being who we are, and you were just mentioning how, the culture is getting a little bit, things are getting a little bit growing, maybe. People are
Mhm.
growing.
Mhm.
And I think you see it in the modern culture now when people are saying, be yourself, you be you, be
Right.
authentic. Like, what does
Yes.
that mean?
Yeah.
How? How do you know that? And Patanjali tells us, quiet your mind. It's that inner narrator, the thoughts, the nonstop thoughts. That's not who you are.
Mhm.
We think it is because we don't know otherwise. No one tells us we're not. So we think that. And in yoga, that's considered a tragic mistake. If you think you're your mind, you are, it's sad. It's just a misunderstanding.
Mhm.
So yoga gives you all these tools to quiet the mind so you see who you really are. And that is the unfathomable. That's what all the religions are talking about. This
Right.
part of ourselves.
Mhm.
That's
The inner,
and
the
how but
soul.
how, yes,
Yeah.
how do you connect? We're already connected, but we disengage because we're distracted by the external world and our
Right.
thoughts.
Right. Now, do you connect? I connect every day. Even it only takes me a few minutes, but I say a prayer, and I always write my little journal, dear God, and I talk to him. But do you do this do you do the same thing, connect every day? Because that's something like,
Yes, and that's what yoga is saying.
mhm.
There are as many ways to connect as there are humans.
Yes.
So there's no dogma here. There's no one saying this is, you have to
Right.
believe this or you have to do this. But you should find the way that works for you,
Right.
because it's how your life should be directed. It's where what should direct your life, not the culture conditioning us. You need
Mhm.
this, the media, what we other people tell us, our fears, based on all these things. That shouldn't be directing our life. It should be this deeper place. But
Right.
it's hard to get to if you're doing it every day, so you know that the importance of that.
Well, I do. And that's why I guess I always tell people to stand up and use their voice, because don't listen to what everybody tells you. And it's exactly what you said. I'm just repeating what you just said. It's don't listen to the outside world. How do you feel? What feels right to you? Because go with your gut. Truly, the solar plex, your gut right here, you guys, it never lies. The body never lies. And I don't know. So as you started to do this and started to do these sutras, it healed you, didn't it?
It did. Actually, I feel that when I was meditating in the early, when I was still suffering from the symptoms, I came to a lot of conclusions for myself, not Bell's palsy in general. I think
Mhm.
everybody's different.
Right.
But for myself, I was able to see clearly that I was running full speed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And it was calming to me and soothing to me to realize that. I didn't know what was next necessarily, but all of a sudden I realized, oh, if you keep doing that, you're just going to get sicker. So,
Mhm.
so that gave me,
The
hope. And
motivation. Yeah.
yeah, besides, it was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Learning about, like, I was fascinated by, the energy system, and
Yeah.
I just had never known about it. So again,
Mhm.
as I learned, I was always like, wow, everyone should know this. Everyone
Right.
should know this.
Yes.
And then that was why I wrote the book. It's sort of like
Yeah.
30 years of like, everyone should know this.
Yes. Well, and you're so right on, because we have the ability to heal ourselves. And that's what I was trying to get across. And you were the perfect example, and how exciting and how cool that is to know that we do have the ability. Yes, there are certain things we have to do because we have to, use some sources, but it's basically connecting with that higher vibration that heals us, I believe. Is that what you've come to believe too?
So much, yes. And I think
Mhm.
this whole idea of when you quiet the thoughts, your energy
Right.
is in your thoughts. What happens is your attention or awareness goes into your body. And again, like you're saying, the body tells you. So when you come out of your thoughts, you get the intelligence of the body is more pronounced. And it has a lot of intelligence. The heart, even when you hear a song and it's a sad song, you can feel it in your heart. When somebody smiles at you, you can feel it in your heart. Only if, though, you're not completely in
I
that
know.
thought stream.
I'm going to read something. I wrote down some quotes. You wrote down, I thought this was profound. Tell your mind, I'm giving you a little vacation. You'll get back to thinking later, but now it's time to take a break.
You have
Like,
to play.
yeah, I was
It's
like,
a
oh, I
mind
could do
game.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you say, this is something else I thought that was really interesting. You talk about who you are before you're awake. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read this. I just thought this was cool. Check this out, you guys. This is a page from her book. When you wake up before you're fully conscious, catch yourself before the entire story of who you are in the world has taken hold. Rather than jumping out of bed, say hello and feel the support and connection to your deeper self. Notice if any insights arise. So it made me think, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So before I really am coherent, I'm different than I am coherent. You catch yourself. Talk about that. That was really cool.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of science around this now. That
Okay.
stage of half awake,
Mhm,
it's a certain brain wave frequency
mhm.
that's very connected.
Right.
And we do have, it's like the line between the conscious and the subconscious mind is blurry, and the subconscious has all the info, all the data. And so what we need will come up if that line is a little blurry. So we'll get more info. And also, what I like about this exercise is it's not like you have to add anything else to your day. You know, there's a lot of things in the book that are like, do this meditation, try this, but you know
Mhm,
what? Sometimes we can't add anything else. This is just, you know, you're not quite awake, and you can really get to some deep places with just a couple of minutes, you know, not jumping out of bed. And I think having those little uh, helps, tools, support can be really effective and important.
mhm. No, I think so too. And you also talk about, of course, the present moment awareness. And you talk about meditation, walking in nature. You know, walking in nature does kind of make us more aware and in the present moment. Do you do a lot of that? I bet you do, probably.
Um, yes, some people like walking meditation. For me, I prefer to sit and meditate
Okay.
because it's like I have to like face the mind, those thoughts right on.
Mhm.
Walking, I'll get distracted,
Yeah.
but if I'm taking a walk and I notice I'm in my thoughts and it's not helpful, it's not like I'm, you know, planning something I'm doing, using the mind the way that it should be used. I'm not doing that. I'm just kind of rehashing and projecting into the future, rehashing the past. Then I'll take a breath, come into my body, bring the mind out of the thoughts into the body, feel each foot hit the ground, feel the breath, and it's just a reboot. It's a refresh, and whatever tools
Feeling.
you use.
Yeah, I just want to ask you something. I get the feeling from you because I'm an intuitive. You probably know that. I get the feeling that this has really calmed you down.
Yes, yeah. I mean, my
Are you like a different person than you were before? Like, does your family, because I just feel that you were like really hyper and now you're just like mellow. Does your family say that to you or?
absolutely friends
Yeah.
from school, they just laugh like, you meditation, haha. But
Oh my God,
well,
seriously? Yeah, isn't that
well,
funny?
yes, but yeah. But I think I think the reason I turned so sharply was because I needed it so much
So
that
badly.
I
God
felt
said, yeah,
it's like if you go into a physical class, a yoga class,
yeah.
I'm really tight. Like my muscles are really tight. I'm not a flexible person. So the first time I did yoga, I was like, wow, this is great. If you're really flexible, you're sort of like, huh, that was good. But I was like, oh no, it was amazing. So I,
That's
I
great.
think it's like the extremes.
I got you. We got to go to commercial break, guys. I'm here today with Pamela Seelig. Her book is called Threads of Yoga. Now, this is coming out September 28th, so they can pre-order on Amazon
Yes,
right now.
it's available for pre-order, Amazon or your favorite bookstore.
Okay. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Earl, and this is High Road to Humanity. And I'm here today with Pamela Seelig, and we're talking about energy. We're talking about meditation, and we're talking about yoga. And, I have always wanted, I've done a little yoga in my life, but I definitely meditate. I probably need to put the two together. But we always hear when we talk about these subjects about prana. And I know it's Sanskrit for the energy of the cosmos, right? And you say in the book, which we all know, energy or everything is energy. But talk about the prana and, when people talk about this in yoga, so people understand what it is really.
Sure. Yes, prana is the energy of the cosmos. It's we now know, a quantum science, that everything is energy. Yogis knew this a long time ago. Prana is called prana in Sanskrit, and there's prana in the body. The prana flows through, in yoga, they're called nadis or channels that
Okay.
flow through our body. In traditional Chinese medicine, this energy is called qi. It's called mana in the Polynesian culture, I think ruach in Judaic culture. Holy Spirit is associated with that in Christian culture, but it's the energy that flows through our body. And in yoga, we're taught that we don't have just one body, the physical body. We actually have 5 bodies. And they're based on levels of density of this energy. So the physical body we can see and touch. The next body is the prana body, and it's made up of just this energy. We can't see it, although some people can see energy. And the energy flows through, and there's certain centers that align along our spine. Most people have heard the word chakras, and
Right.
these are the energy centers. And it's not essential that you have to know about your chakras, but it can be super helpful because each of the primary chakras plays a different role. For
Right.
instance, the root chakra is about balance and stability. The solar plexus is about our confidence. Heart, obviously, our connection. So when something goes awry, it's another thing to sort of work on. Like if you're really feeling a lack of self-confidence, really insecure, it's this solar plexus is not energized enough. And there are things you can do. There's yoga poses, each work with a different energy centers. The warrior poses really focus on this solar plexus, our confidence. Any kind of a core exercise actually can help. Certain affirmations, there's all different things to do. So learning about prana, learning how it flows, feeling blockages in the body, or where there's an overabundance of prana, can help you kind of achieve your own balance and live
Balance. Yeah.
in an optimal way.
What
So
did
it's
they call
another
the
tool.
aura? What did they call the aura? Did they call that? I'm just curious. Do you know? Did they
Yeah,
call it
I
something
do.
different? Talk to us
Well,
about that.
yes. So there's a certain energy. It's called ojas, O-J-A-S, ojas.
Okay.
And it's a very refined pranic energy. And when ojas builds up, it creates what is called tejas. So there's just words, but tejas creates this glow around you, and it creates a very charismatic energy. So people who have this tejas just attract people. They're just the leaders and they attract people. And some people can see it as a glow. That's a little different than an aura. An aura is just seeing your energy field. So a lot of people can see it, but
Well,
if you have a lot of
yeah, I have a question. I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but like some of these yogis or whatever, they glow.
Mhm. Yeah,
Now,
that's
why are they glowing and we're not glowing? I mean, what's the difference?
well, and I have to say, not
Seriously.
just yogis, every culture, the
Yeah.
saints, sages, avatars, artists could see, and they drew
Yeah.
the halo
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
yeah, I think it is rarefied human beings with this concentrated excess prana.
That's what
And
it is.
it's visible. And they say there's some people, some avatar sages, that you could actually see a glow in the heart. You could see their
Oh,
body.
wow.
People said they could see the glow. It was almost like a tunnel of light in the center of the body.
That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah,
I wonder if, and I maybe I read this somewhere, or I don't know, if we used to be more, or if it used to be more apparent when we were more spiritual people, is
mhm.
what I'm thinking. I wonder if that'll
Well,
come back again,
well, we are taught time is linear, but in
right?
the yoga cultures, as well as most indigenous cultures,
Mhm.
time is not linear, it's circular. And there's ages and they repeat each other. And those ages in yoga are called yugas, Y-U-G-A.
Okay,
And there's the golden age
right,
and then the dark age.
right.
And right now, according to the calculations, and they're
Yeah,
debated, so
yeah,
this is like the very last chapter of my book. I talk about this. It gets a little bit in the weeds, but we're now coming out of the darkness. They say them,
right.
these are 24,000 year cycles.
I know, isn't that crazy? And people need to get on board. Otherwise, they're going to have to wait another 24,000 years. Somebody told me, if they don't get on board. But go ahead.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
So, but as we get more toward the golden cycle, the energy, it's easier to understand this kind of information. It's easier to connect. It's easier to be connected to source. So that's where we're headed. Some people are a little ahead, some people are a little behind. We're all on our own path.
Mhm.
It's not
No judgment.
a race, exactly.
Right.
And but it's interesting. I find it absolutely fascinating.
I do too.
And I think when you look at things like the pyramids kind of staring us in the face in Egypt, now we know they're all over the world. We
Right.
really still don't know the culture that was able to build it, the mathematical calculations, the fact that the Great Pyramid is in the exact center of the earth. Like, how did they know? So there must have been cultures that were more advanced. And I think they were more spiritually advanced. And
Mhm.
then we cycle out and we cycle back in. So I think a lot of this information, especially this ancient information from indigenous cultures, from yoga, it's to help us come back out of the darkness with all
Mhm.
those lessons that we've learned, you
I
know.
agree. I agree. Actually, I think it's a really exciting time to be alive. It's been a difficult, I have to say, it hasn't been easy, just like you. I've had a lot of difficulty, but the difficulty has made me more wise, because as you live through these things, like, someone can tell you what it would be like to go through what you did, but you went through it and it changed you completely, which makes you different. And then when you teach people, you can look, you come from the heart.
And we each have our own challenges and our
Yes.
own
Yeah.
experiences, and we
Yeah.
bring,
Yeah.
and I think learning from those experiences and then bringing them, sharing them with the world is kind of like why we're here. Because I'm different than the next person, than the next person. Like, we all have a different offering. And I think that's quite beautiful. If we can
Mhm.
get out of our thoughts, our like individual isolated feeling, being so separate, then it's very dark and sad. But if we can
Right.
sort of connect and see the bigger picture, it gives it purpose and meaning.
I agree with that. That's a nice analogy. And that goes back to where we're all connected to each other. And we've actually, I'll just say this, we've got about 3 minutes before we go to break, but we've actually separated ourselves from each other. It's quite interesting. I'm an individual. It's been we actually went the whole wrong way. And now it's like every people are waking up and they're coming back. That's kind of what I feel like. Do you see that too? It's been
I
kind of
feel that way
weird.
too, that we come here, that's part of, if you think of this as Earth School,
Right.
we come here, it looks like we're separate, we feel separate, isolated, we're on our own, and we have to figure it out. It's a big world, we don't have any control. Um, but then we sort of
But we
work
do
our
have
way back.
control. We'll talk about that. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And then, but we realize, oh, we're actually connected, like the trees in the forest. They look separate, but underneath in the earth, they're all connected by their roots and they're all
Mhm.
communicating. And I think we just have to relearn that. And we're just, after the experience of being separate, we bring more to the table.
Mhm. I just want to say something that when you said control, it just really hit me, because I'm like a control freak and I always have been. But we do have control over our emotions and our words and our thoughts. And so we are little manifestors. And I just want to bring this up when you said that, because I'm in this process right now of manifesting. And, it's hard because we actually can manifest. We just have lost the ability, or not the ability, but no one's really taught us how. And so if we need something, all we really do is, in a reverent way, ask the universe for that gift, know we're going to receive it, and let it go. And so when you said that, it just clicked with me. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just was like, we actually have that ability, don't we? Isn't that cool?
We do. And I think quieting the mind, that first step,
Yeah.
helps you to see what it is, the gift that would be for your highest purpose and your highest self. And once that quiet, you reach that stillness, I think you're right. I think anything is possible. I don't think there are limits.
I think we can do it. Hey, we got to go to commercial break. I'm here today with Pamela Seelig. Her book is called Threads of Yoga. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Pamela Seelig. Her book is Threads of Yoga, and we're getting ready to talk about the guide to being human, introduction to the Yamas and the Niyamas. Tell us about this before I read them.
Oh, great. Well, this section of the book talks about the yamas and niyamas, which are often called the Yoga 10 Commandments. These are also in the Yoga Sutras. And because there's 5 yamas and 5 niyamas. And different than the 10 Commandments, though, there's no punishment or judgment. The yogis telling us, if you do these, you will be more in alignment with your true nature. If you don't, if you veer away from these yamas and niyamas, like the first one is nonviolence. If you don't abide by nonviolence, you will not be happy. So it's your choice, but that's the idea. So it's basically, a list of do's and don'ts as a guide.
All right. Well, I'm going to read these, you guys. And a lot of these you'll have heard of. So the first one is the golden rule, which I think a lot of people have heard of. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you is simple and profound. It acknowledges humanity's benevolent nature, and some version of this teaching is found in almost every recorded culture and wisdom and tradition. She goes on to say, the first here is what you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. That's a Confucius. That's true.
Well, that's the golden rule, but the yamas and niyamas are, I think, the next page. I'm happy to read them, Nancy.
Oh gosh, no, go ahead. Okay.
Okay. The 5 yamas are nonviolence.
Right.
1, truthfulness. 2, non-stealing. 3, moderation is 4. 5 is non-greed. 6 is purity or cleanliness. 7 is my favorite, contentment. Be content. It's a practice. 3 is austerities, like using challenges to kind of hone your character.
All right.
The 9th is sacred study of spiritual texts. And the last one is surrender to a higher power. So those are the 10 yamas and niyamas. Well,
what I'm reading here is a guide to being human. I'm going to read these other ones to you guys because this makes a lot of sense to me. And you wrote, this comes from Matthew 7:12, and everything, this comes from the Bible, and everything do to others as you would have them do to you. They're all saying the same thing. For this is the law and the prophets. This is what she's saying. They're all saying the same thing over and over. And this prophet says, not one of you truly believes until you wish for others what you wish for yourself. See, I just think these little, and what is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. It's all the same thing. This is the whole tarot. All the rest is commentary. Go and learn it. So it's like this stuff has been going on for centuries. The same thing over and over and over.
Yeah, these little pearls of wisdom that run through all these wisdom traditions of humanity. Yeah. It to me, it's beautiful. It shows it, first of all, it's kind of verifying it, legitimate. And it's like, wow, we should really
Pay attention.
understand it and pay attention, like for crying out loud. How
I mean,
thousands
well,
of years do we have to hear this?
I know. Well, that's why I wanted to read those, and I, not to demean what you were telling me on the 10, but it was like they've said the same thing over and over and over. It's basically treat other people how you'd like to be treated.
Exactly. If
You know?
most, not even all, if most people did that, we would be a next level of society, next level.
Well,
And I
yeah,
think we're on our way.
yeah, I do
Fingers
too.
crossed.
Now, how are things where you are? Do you have a lot of people come into class? Are you doing Zoom videos? Promote yourself a little bit. How do people
Oh,
get in contact with you and all that good stuff? Tell us,
well,
Pamela.
thanks. Well, my website has everything. It's PamelaSeelig.com. And that has my social media connections. But for the pandemic, what I've been doing is teaching on Zoom, mostly an introduction to meditation course. That's really the one that I've been focused on. And that there's one coming up again next week, or September 16th. And then when that's finished, it's just 3 weeks, 1 hour a week, not a lot of time, because you kind of have to go and do it yourself. It's a little bit of instruction, some techniques and tools, and then you do the work yourself. And hopefully get started on a home practice. But there are lots of resources now. You can do online meditation classes at so many places, thankfully. So that's really what I've been doing, is online courses and writing.
That's really awesome. And then what inspired you to finally put this together? Because it's a really good book, and it's quite lengthy. I mean, you give a lot of information in here. It
Well,
probably took you a while.
it did, but it was percolating for a long time, because I always was thinking, gosh, I'm so glad I know this, but everyone should know this. This isn't hard. It's kind of obvious, but it's very, I think I love yoga because it lays it out. Like, here's the map. You have to do it yourself. Here's the map. It's kind of consistent with other cultures. There's nothing too out there. But anyway, so when I was teaching, I was trying to share the information, and it was kind of challenging to do that. So initially I wanted to write the book for teachers, but then students always want more information. Like, why do I feel so good? Like, what's really going on? Where can I learn more about yoga? And there's not a lot of places to go. And then for people that don't really want to have a physical practice, they're not interested in the postures. They do other exercise, but they're like, hey, what's all the fuss with yoga?
Right,
Like,
that's
why,
me.
why is
See?
this why is this 3,000-year-old practice still a thing?
Yeah, right. So what do I do? Right. So for me, like, I work out and doing other things. Like, I have my Peloton and I do my elliptical and all that. But I would like to do that. So do you have, like, what class would I take from you?
For me, it would be the introduction to meditation. That might be a little bit too beginner for you, but it's a lot of tools. Like,
No, I would take it. I'm not proud.
Well, it's always good to go back to fundamentals too. But
Yeah.
the first week is we learn breath technique. That's the technique that is the easiest to start with, because it brings you right out of your thoughts into your body when you focus your mind on the breath. And then the next week we layer in a mantra. We have a few mantra choices. Do that for a week. And then the last week we do some guided imagery and visualization meditations. And then it's, choosing your meditation space and how long you're going to do it and all those things. So I think that would be
the best thing for somebody who does other things but would like to coordinate it in. Yeah, I think that would really be cool. We didn't talk too much. Well, you did a little bit about the heart and coming from the heart. I wanted to talk about it a little bit more. It's really the vibration of love that we all need, and that we're trying to bring in, or that we are bringing in. I'm going to say that, not trying. We're bringing it in to raise the vibration here on the planet. And I always tell people, ask your heart a question, because the body doesn't lie. Talk a little. You address the heart. Talk about the heart a little bit.
Yeah. Well, when we quiet the mind, we are in the body. And the heart is the center of the body. It's really our center when we come out of the head. And a lot of yoga, a lot of the physical postures really are about opening the heart. It's a lot of back bending, because going through life, we have a lot of heartbreak. We all have different degrees of trauma. And the way we cope is often to just slow the flow of prana, just shut down a little bit because it's too painful. That's a
Mhm.
fine coping mechanism. But after a while, we have to get that flowing again, or our health will suffer, our amount of joy will suffer. And so, yoga is a lot about making sure our energy is flowing, we're not constricting in the heart area. And you can start having more energy flow in the heart just by slow breathing, just deep breathing for a minute or two will help soften the heart area. Putting your hand on your heart and breathing. We
That
move.
softens. Okay.
Yes, prana. We can transfer prana through the palm of our
How do we
hand.
do this? Teach it. Show us how to do it. We've got about 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Sure, you can prana. We can bring in prana through the breath. You can also visualize it coming into the crown chakra
Mhm.
as you inhale, and then as you exhale with the heart, the hand over the heart, just exhale and see that breath or light coming out of the palm flowing into the heart. So inhale, prana comes in through the crown of the head. Exhale, palm of the hand sends energy to the heart. And just slow breathing like that. It's very healing and relaxing. And you'll
So we're
feel the
sending it with
shoulders
our hand. We're sending the energy. We're bringing it through, the light through, and then we're taking
through
it
the
through
crown
our
of the
hand.
head.
Uh-huh.
And then it's the exhale and your intention will move it out the palm of the hand. And we do this naturally when our child falls or skins their knee. A parent or anyone, a caregiver, places their palm on the wound and says, okay, it'll be okay. This is a natural thing that we all innately know how to do. And we can
Interesting.
do that for ourselves.
Wow. Thank you. That's
Oh,
really
you're
awesome.
welcome.
Well, yeah, I think this is really cool. Tell it, your website again is Pamela Seelig. You guys, it's Seelig. The book is Threads of Yoga. Anything you want to leave us with today before we get out of here?
Oh, well, I just really hope that if you're on the fence about meditating or you think that your mind is too busy to meditate, that we're all like that.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
you.
true.
This is a challenge, but it
Mhm.
is so worth it. So however
Rewarding.
you get to meditation, it's going to be worth it for your life. Very rewarding.
Awesome.
So
Hey, you guys, if you want a psychic reading, go to my website, nancyyearout.com, and click on the book button and go to my calendar, and you can just book your date and time. Don't forget or remember to watch News with Nancy. It's actually Nice News with Nancy now on Sundays. And I'm going to give some information on Sundays also of different guests that I'm having on and different promotions that they have going on. I know Jen Ward, she's the lady who does the tapping. She's got a special thing going this weekend for September 11th for the world. And you can check out her website, and that's genuinehealing.com. So this is Nancy, you're out. This is High Road to Humanity. And thanks so much for joining us. And we will see you next time. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week, and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout, High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.